What's going on, wrestling fans? Welcome to the Wrestle Report, episode 5. Thanks for being here. We're happy you are here with us. Phil Nunziata on this side. Over there, we got Don. How's it going, man?
Hanging out, man. Sore.
Oh, so
working out.
You sound exhausted right now, actually.
I'm pretty tired.
Yeah, he had a workout that kicked his ass. He was telling me before we started here, but we're going to push through. We had a pretty good weekend of wrestling that parlayed into some interesting stuff that happened tonight on NXT. We're recording a little bit earlier than normal, but it'll be out normal time for you guys. But we're going to start at the top. Fun weekend of wrestling, Takeover 30 and SummerSlam, back-to-back days. I think there's no other place to start with Takeover than the thing that stole the show was Pat McAfee and Adam Cole, and the match went down. I've yet to see anyone really have huge problems with this. I'll put it this way: even Jim Cornette liked this match, from what I've listened to his show on. What are your opinions? Do you have anything that he had to have impressed you? I know he impressed me.
Oh yeah, it was just like, wow, man. Like I was surprised at the stuff that he was doing. The jump up onto the turnbuckle, the springboard onto the turnbuckle. Mm-hmm. That was nice. The senton from the top rope to the outside onto everybody. That was great. And I love his selling, yo. He sold the hell out of those moves from Adam Cole.
Sometimes when non-wrestlers get in there, like, they want to sell, they want to do it properly, and they kind of overdo it. And I think McAfee did a really good job of selling the right amount. And towards the end, he just looked like blown up and exhausted, like you would expect. He didn't win the match, I thought there was no way they were going to do this with him losing, but this match was way more serious than I thought it was going to be. I thought they were going to hide his inexperience. He went right after it, man. And to take that Tequila Sunrise for the finish, I've seen pro wrestlers take that bump nowhere near as good as Pat did. I thought, sure, he could lose, but to take that's a very experienced move to take. And that blew my mind, right off the bat there. We were talking about last episode what kind of gear he would wear. Was not crazy about the gear. I felt like they could have done a little bit better. I think we both agreed the knee pads weren't a great look. I think he would have been better off in long tights, maybe, like Edge style, older Chris Jericho style. The tank top was fine, I think. Because he's in great shape, but he's not doesn't have abs. So I understand not just wrestling with no shirt. So that I understand. So really the knee pads are the only thing that got me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, same here. The knee pads threw me off. You don't need the knee pads, brother, man. You could have just took off the knee pads. Or, like you said, with the long pants and then had the knee pads underneath them.
Sure, yeah.
But I guess he wanted to show off for the brand.
Yeah, that's true. And then, the shoes, the wrestling, half Jordan looking, half wrestling boots that he had on were pretty sweet. They were custom made. Had the lightning bolt and the punter on the back and everything. So, I think he took it seriously from everything from the gear to everything else. But I don't know what I expected from this match. It wasn't this. I didn't expect, 2 minutes in when they got a headlock going, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a match. I thought, if anything, and we'll kind of mention it with the other non-wrestler match of the weekend, how it was more of a fight and you could kind of, hide things behind weapons and just not as much wrestling moves. But no, I think McAfee wanted to prove that this is, I think just wrestling fans that aren't maybe football fans and otherwise, they wanted to hate this and they kind of came out saying, I can't. I'm a straight up hater if I just, disallow everything that just happened there. But yeah, I thought that was great, the way it all went down. And I don't know how long it'll be, but I do think we'll see him again. At this rate, he did it way too well to only be a one-off.
Yeah.
Who would you want to see?
I believe he's going to earn a contract sooner or later.
Yeah. Who do you want to see him go against? If you had to pick somebody else.
I can see him going against Johnny Gargano.
Ooh, that'd be. I think the next match, if and when he has another one, he has to win. So you got to give him somebody he could beat, but still make it important. I don't know who that'd be at this exact moment. But yeah, at this rate, if he goes again, I think he's no, I kind of killed myself on this. I need to pick up a win this next time out. Other stuff, while that was probably the big headline of NXT, I do think the North American Championship ladder match was the best match on the show, which had Damian Priest winning the title, which I did correctly predict there. You had came over to watch the show right as McAfee and Cole was starting, so when it was over, we went back and watched the ladder match. Pretty great stuff, though. I mean, sometimes when you get that many guys in a ladder match, stuff just gets lost, but it was very crisp and everything made sense. A couple bumps didn't go the way they had planned, but overall, it's one of the better ladder matches. This was better than, not counting this past year, but even a couple years before. This is better than most Money in the Bank ladder matches from like the modern era. I think it blew some of those out of the water even.
Yeah, I feel that. That bump that that Velveteen Dream took through, like, from the ring, falling from the ring onto the outside beyond the barricade.
Yeah,
that was a serious bump.
Good thing
And
they
then
didn't
also
put the hockey glass on that side too. He would have been
oh my
having to clear that on top of it.
Oh my goodness! And then also that Cameron Grimes bump on, he barely hit the ladder.
Yeah,
he just hit the edge of the ladder.
He would have been better off just hitting the ladder square, but I don't know exactly how that all went down, but yeah, did not look good. And this match, I talked about it that night. Everybody won this match like 2 to 3 times. Like there was multiple times for each participant. It was like, oh, okay, good match. And now he's there and he's going to, win. And, oh, no, here comes somebody else. And that happened, like I said, at least 2 or 3 times for all the participants. And it's one thing to get a false finish, but they really milked this one out. I don't know the actual timing of it, but it felt like it went a solid 30 minutes. And you did not want it to be over. You're not like, all right, let's get to the end of this. Like, however much time that is one thing about the show, only having 6 matches on it. Everybody kind of got, like, no match was too short. Everybody got time. And I think SummerSlam had a little bit of that because usually SummerSlam's like 12 hours long or whatever it is. And, they're not going to do that in this era with the Thunderdome and everything. So they only did the matches that were necessary. And because of that, everybody got time. So I do think this ladder match was the match of the night, given everyone's performance and everything. But the Pat McAfee, Adam Cole, obviously, is the biggest headline, as it should be, though, because that was great. We won't go over, obviously, every match. Let's real quick our picks for this show. I went 4-2. Don went 3-3. I think the 2 I got right, got wrong. I did pick McAfee. Obviously, that didn't work out. And then we both picked Phantasmos to win the number 1 contendership, and obviously it was won by Breezango, who at the time of recording this actually won the tag titles on NXT on Wednesday night. So congrats, boys. Long-time team finally getting the first gold. So that's cool to see. And Imperium, I think they did their job. I assume they're going back to the UK soon. That would also make sense why they're dropping.
Yeah, because NXT UK is coming back next month. So that's right. Actually a good reason why they probably dropped the titles.
So it gave them something to do in the meantime. They're going to, if anything, they're bigger stars going back over there now.
Yeah.
So obviously we both lost that one. You had Cameron Grimes in the ladder match. That's the only other. And then what was the third one? Oh, the main event, which I guess we'll get to now.
Yeah.
Good segue there. Cross versus Lee in, just the beefiest match of all time. It was a little slower than everything else on the show, as you would expect. These guys are massive. Keith Lee losing the belt to Cross in what was, again, a pretty good match, and we were kind of surprised how it all went down. But then we find out on NXT, we'll go right into this right now, had to vacate the title, had to pull a Finn Balor, separated his shoulder in that match. So real quick, I guess, before we go past that, what'd you think of this match? It was, to me, it's about what I expected from 2 guys this big, right? I mean,
yeah, I like the match a lot. It's just it sucked because I heard from reports from like Sean Ross Sapp and all of them. It was saying that he's actually separated his shoulder earlier in the match. That was before he did his little the turnbuckle slam to.
Right.
I don't know the name. I forgot the name of the actual move. His finisher.
Sure.
From the second rope. So that sucks. That sucks because I like Karrion. I think he's gonna be good. I liked him when he was in TNA too, as Killer Cross too. So it sucks, but next man up.
Yeah, and the next man up is actually, this is gonna be a mouthful, but William Regal came out. So NXT opened with him vacating the title, and about an hour in, like right after the commercial break, going into the second hour, William Regal's in the ring with the belt. saying that he was with the apparently NXT as a championship committee, because that's what he said. I was in the back with the championship committee. We were trying to figure out the best thing to do here. And next week will be get this, wrap your head around this, a fatal 4-way 60-minute Iron Man match. And it includes Tommaso Ciampa, who made his return on this show. He took out a jobber, and they tried to stretcher him out. He threw him off the stretcher. Ciampa's back full force. Like, he's all the way back. You got Gargano, because whenever there's Ciampa, there's got to be Gargano now that they're both here. Adam Cole, which technically I don't think he ever got his rematch, so it makes sense to put him in line there. And then Finn Balor was the fourth guy here. So next week's show, which is on Tuesday, not Wednesday, a couple other, AEW's been dealing with scheduling differences, which we'll touch on that in a little bit. But now it's NXT's turn, I guess. But this will, I assume, just be the whole second hour of the show, and I'm looking forward to it. Again, this just got announced like an hour ago before we recorded this, and I had to tell you about it right before we came on air. Just hearing it firsthand, who do you think will be champion after that hour? It's hard. It's tough because this obviously wasn't the plan, so it's not like they were leading up to this. They got to pick somebody now,
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if Finn Balor won.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't surprise me not one bit, just because they still got that Walter feud out there too. Mm-hmm. So you could be like NXT champion versus UK champion,
Yeah.
So I could see that happening.
As they were announcing the match, I thought it was going to be a fatal 4-way, and I'm like, oh, Finn will definitely win that. That's he could sneak a pinfall, 20 minutes in. And then the Iron Man thing got thrown in there, and I'm like, ooh, that's a little. You can't sneak your way to a win in an Iron Man match. So I mean, all these guys are good enough to win it. I mean, Ciampa is back. I would maybe go Finn has the most likely chance, because you could kind of plug him in what you had Cross doing, because he's obviously a heel at this point. Ciampa, and then I don't know, Cole. I assume they had something else planned for Cole right about now. Like, they knew. Like, I think for him to agree to do the Pat McAfee thing, he's like, all right, fine. What am I doing next? So I would think that they have something for him. Gargano seems like the odd man out. I think he's the least likely to win. But of course, because I say that, who knows what'll happen?
Right.
But yeah, I'd go Finn, Ciampa, Cole, and then Gargano. But I think Cole and Gargano are both very, like the gap between those, the bottom two and the top two, are pretty high. But no, Tuesday, it just makes for another great show. We already touched on, their schedule is going to be shooken up. Right before NXT happened, we were hanging out watching AEW, which of course got moved to Saturday. We touched on NXT's ratings last week, going into their show, running unopposed. AEW running against Takeover, being pushed for an NBA game, and then getting pushed back another 30 minutes because your Heat took forever to beat the Pacers, Don. So it's your fault. So the whole show started half an hour later. They still pulled 775,000. So I think that's really impressive. They basically didn't lose anybody. It wasn't one of their highest rated shows, but it was easily like their average, like the numbers they get every Wednesday. So I think they have to feel pretty good about that. I'm curious now, tomorrow, as we're recording this, they're truly unopposed. No NXT, no Takeover, no nothing. So I'm curious, next episode we'll have to see what those numbers are. But good on them for that. The big news coming out of there is Brody Lee not only beating, but really dismantling Cody Rhodes and winning the TNT Championship, really taking out the whole Nightmare family, Brandy included. If Takeover didn't happen this weekend, this would be the talk of the wrestling world right now.
Oh, yeah.
So Brody Lee is the champ. What do you think about it? I think the rumor is Cody's going off to – obviously he'll have his backstage situation, but he's going to be off TV for at least a little while. I think he's filming some movie or some show or something. So I'm going to miss him on TV. I think he is the glue that keeps that show together. So it'll be interesting to see if it really falls apart without his on-camera presence. But Brody Lee as TNT champion, I'm intrigued. I don't know where they're going. So,
yeah, I want to see how they're gonna defend it. How long is he gonna hold on to it? Is he gonna be doing the same thing that Cody did?
I doubt it.
And is someone gonna screw him? Like I can see him like Coco Cabana coming and be like, "I want to challenge you, Brody."
Yeah.
And then you got a match right there. And I would. It's intriguing. I'm intrigued. I want to see what they're gonna do with it. I'm happy for Brody Lee though, because
Yeah,
He, he,
it really did
go
feel like a
ahead.
big moment, though. Like, it's
Yeah.
it's the mid-card title and everything, and Cody defending it every week helped with that. I think now that you have a heel as champ, he's got to do the exact opposite. He's got to duck everybody, and that'll
Mm-hmm.
create that contrast. But you're right. I
Mm-hmm.
think he could eventually, maybe Cole Cabana, because he's been very naive in this storyline, borderline dumb in some situations. But maybe he knew where it was going all along, and he was outsmarting them to get close to them, thinking Brody would eventually win a title and go after him. So I'd like to see Cole Cabana in there. There's plenty of other guys. I do think they're going to stop the open challenge for now. One, they signed half the dudes that came from other companies. They only have so much room at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess we'll really see next week or tomorrow at this rate. The same day you'll probably hear this. They are letting in some fans, so that'll be nice to hear some. I actually just finished watching Orlando City play. They let in a small amount of fans also, and it made a world of difference. There's that place holds 25,000. They maybe let in 500 sprinkled across the whole stadium, and it made a world of difference. And I could see it being the case for AEW. So we'll see if that really makes a big difference. What did you think of the Thunderdome? Last thing we talked about, we hadn't quite seen it. We just saw pictures. I mean, we had it for SmackDown and SummerSlam. I mean, did it make a big difference to you?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I like the Thunderdome. It just it just
Not
sucks
the same.
because us wrestling fans just can't get good things sometimes.
Yep.
There's always those couple people that act a fool
Yeah.
and on the cameras on the screen and everything. Like I saw so many different things that was inappropriate. Like they shouldn't have done that. Like
I mean, there was.
that you just took up a spot for someone like me
Yeah.
and you watching.
We
Trying to watch
tried.
it,
We tried to sign up. We didn't get in.
Yeah.
No, I mean there was on SummerSlam. It might have been SmackDown because I watched a little bit of SmackDown. The Pikachu someone put and I don't think they put the Pikachu there the whole time. I think they when they got up, they put the
Yeah.
Pikachu in their seat so in case I don't know who's monitoring all these screens. Clearly nobody. I'm sure there is now. But they weren't gonna be like, oh, it's an empty seat. Let me click that guy off. Like it was like the Chris Benoit one, right? I guess we'll just talk about a couple. Like that was funny, I guess. Like I could see them being pissed about it. That didn't bother me. But there's a KKK thing and like a beheading film. Someone I don't know how you even got that on there. But yeah, that obviously too far. You're ruining a good thing for other people. When at the end of the day, we're just trying to be entertained anyway. So yeah, I mean, clearly now they're gonna have to have some people just watching every screen and ready to boot somebody off at a moment's notice. I don't know. I mean, they probably should have thought of that, but I don't think they thought it would get this crazy this soon. I think people are just some shitty people out there. There's no other way to put it, So we mentioned the NXT Championship is vacated after Cross beating Lee, and we mentioned that if Lee's going to lose, they should leave him off TV till October, till the draft. They did literally the exact opposite. They debut him on Raw the next day, which I actually have to make as my who booked this shit of the episode. I don't know if you had yours out. Not only did they just throw him out there, and they totally ignored the fact that he lost the championship less than 24 or 48 hours ago, changed his music, apparently changed his gear. I didn't really notice that, but a lot of people were saying. And I guess the thing with the music, we're going to be seeing a lot of this because CFO $, the old music company that made a lot of great stuff for the past 6-7 years, since they're no longer with WWE, their new person, basically anyone's music that still gets used from that old person, they have to pay like extra money to keep using it. So like guys like Randy Orton and shit, they're obviously not going to change because it's Randy Orton. But new guys coming in, they would rather have it created by this new person. So that's the reason for the music, and a lot of people obviously weren't happy about it. But yeah, just the repackaging. Him versus Orton, I'm a little intrigued about because it looks like it's going to be on the next pay-per-view, which we'll touch on that later. But you just throw him in with Randy Orton 48 hours after losing a match, and then it ends in DQ. And they advertised it. At least make it a surprise. This is every aspect of this I didn't like. I mean, it's cool to see Keith Lee on Raw. I personally would have liked him on SmackDown, but that's just my opinion. But him versus Orton could be interesting. I would have held out to the draft. I would have at least made it a surprise. That is mine. How'd you feel about Keith Lee just like, hey, we know you lost the title that you claimed to mean everything to you, but we're just gonna move you to the next show, and because you don't really care about it that much, do you?
You're right. I'd rather them do the surprise. Like all of a sudden, you just hear like Randy. Okay, Randy Orton's out there, right? And then all you hear is "Bask in His glory," and then that's you got the shock factor right there. And then
Yeah,
boom,
exactly.
and that it would have made it even better. The DQ, that was terrible. But I'm happy that he addressed it after the fact that he got when they put Drew in the ambulance and stuff. I appreciate that part. His clothes, his come on now, Vince, man. Let them hang, bro.
Yeah.
Let us fat boys hang. Come on, man. I mean, if he's not subconscious about it, then why you should be? Why are you?
That's that's exactly it. And I mean, you made this guy your NXT champion. Really, the booking of Keith Lee for the past 2 months, I could call who booked this shit, because you give him both belts, and then he vacates one just to lose the other in his like third defense. You throw him out on Raw. You change a lot about him. They kept the Bask in His Glory intro, but then the rest of the song is completely different. Let me honest, I didn't watch the Orton match. I had to go back and see the DQ and see what they did, and like, I'm not saying it doesn't make sense, but like, what a whimpery way to debut somebody great. And I mean, you can date that back to they put him in with Lesnar in the Rumble, and like they didn't give him any offense. Like, at least make him get Lesnar on the ropes for like a couple minutes before he dumps him out. But no, dumped him out the way he dumped out Shelton Benjamin, the way he dumped out Rey Mysterio. Like, the whole Keith Lee thing it's fragile right now. And I don't know if he can even beat Orton at the pay-per-view, because Orton, we'll get to it, lost SummerSlam. Like, is he going to lose 2 pay-per-view matches in 2 weeks? How about the fact that there's 2 pay-per-views in 2 weeks? That's another thing that we could throw out there. I don't know. I was in a good mood when I got on here, but I don't know. It's throwing it all out here at once, man. But what was your who booked this shit of the
I
week?
just got one more thing to say about Keith Lee.
Sure,
his debut. I will say this: I do like the fact that they jumped him straight to Randy Orton.
That's true. It's a main event.
It's a main event type of caliber match. I like that. So I'll give WWE the credit for that. All right. So now my who booked this shit. Okay. Let's talk about this the end of Raw.
Okay.
All right. So you got Dominic Mysterio and Rey Mysterio versus Murphy and Seth Rollins.
Right.
All right. Good match. Dominic Mysterio and Rey Mysterio hit the double 619. I love that. I popped for that. Thought that was pretty cool. Father-son moment. Mwah. Perfect. Right. All right. Then Retribution comes out. All right. Retribution comes out in the match. DQ, of course. And I don't know if you remember last week when Retribution came out with when Drew was out there, when they came out and they disturbed their match or his promo. They said the locker room has to band together, right? So you got 5 people kicking the Mysterio's asses, and no one comes out from the back.
Yeah.
You guys just said that you guys got to band. You guys got to stick together against them, and you guys just let 2 people get their ass kicked against 5 people.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Consistency, bro. Consistency.
Yeah. And you said the whole like Drew went out on a stretcher or whatnot. Like, where they're like, oh, boss isn't here. We don't got to do anything. Like, is that what it comes down to? Like,
that's what it sounds like, yo.
Yeah. It's like
I will say this though, because Seth and Murphy, they ended up scampering away and they didn't get touched by Retribution. So that also gives you that layer of like, oh,
they could be part of it, or they could be behind it to some degree.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: if it wasn't a DQ, would you have preferred Rey and Dominic Mysterio versus Seth Rollins and Murphy at SummerSlam in a no DQ? Like, give Dominic that as his first match, and then maybe at Payback you make the one-on-one Rollins and Dominic. Is that like? I didn't think of it till just when you said, they did have that tag match. Would that have not made more sense?
Yeah, that would have made a lot more sense. You could have had that, and I mean, Dominic didn't have to do much during that match too. Then
because the Mysterios could have won, right? The tag match, because it's just a tag match, and then at Payback you have the exact match you had at SummerSlam and have Seth Rollins win, and then boom, you're good. Like, to me, that's not really 50-50 booking. That's, the kid got lucky in a tag match with a lot of shit going on, but when it's a former world champion against him, of course he's gonna lose. Yeah. So I would have been cool with that. We'll jump into the SummerSlam thing because it kind of goes in there. Dominic's performance in that street fight. What'd you think? Loved his gear. I'll start there. We talked about McAfee's gear. I'll talk about his. Loved his gear. I didn't like the hood. I kind of wish the hood just came off, right? But no, the gear was good. They were able to hide his, not having any experience, which we know. It's not a secret. It's no big deal. Using the weapons, a couple table spots here and there. Rollins wins, which is the right call. But I think he looked great. I have no issues with anything. Dominic, he didn't try to do too much. He wrestled like someone who hasn't wrestled much, whereas McAfee just kind of, went for it, which, again, that's more his attitude, so I get it. But what'd you think of Dominic's debut match?
I liked it. He did a good job. I like that one spot when the table was set and he did the little
Russian leg sweep, right?
Russian, yeah.
Yeah, that popped me too.
I was like, okay, wait, hold up. That's gonna hurt you more than it's gonna hurt him.
Kind of hurt them both,
yeah. But I'm okay with it. Let's it was cool. You don't really see that much in a match. People don't really do Russian leg sweeps on from the top rope to the table. So
or in general. In general, really, you don't see that move much anymore. So that was pretty cool. Must have watched Sandman growing up or something, I think so now he's had 2 matches. I don't know if they plan to eventually make Dominic just a dude on the roster. I think he will finally start to really form his own moveset. He'll probably do the 619. He'll probably do a splash. I understand that. But, something like that. You don't see that from everybody, Russian leg sweep. He will slowly start to carve out his own moveset, and I am definitely looking forward to seeing that. So my poll for the weekend was, as you can expect, who had the better SummerSlam weekend performance, Pat McAfee or Dominic Mysterio. I will say this. I posted it maybe 10 minutes after the Dominic match had happened. So there's probably a little bit of prisoner in the moment because it's what you just saw, whereas McAfee was a whole nother day. But it was still very close. Dominic did win 55% to 45%, so it was very close. Could have easily gone the other way. It was actually 60-40 Dominic for a lot of the evening, and then 1 or 2 people must have found it and picked McAfee towards the end. But I'm assuming it might as well be 50-50. If I posted it a whole day later when you had time to process both matches, people might not have been like, oh, Dominic did so great, and he did. Who do you think – I think McAfee had a better performance, but he was also put in a situation that he was supposed to. I don't think Dominic was supposed to go out there and tear the house down. He was supposed to go out there and fight for the honor of his family, and I think he did that well. So while McAfee probably had the better X's and O's performance, I think they both pulled off their roles, perfectly.
Yeah. I will say this. Pat McAfee was more – I feel like his match was more better just because it was a straight-up fight, straight-up wrestling match. Yeah. And you had the smoke and mirrors with the Dominic versus Seth with Buddy Murphy and Rey Mysterio, and it was a street fight at that too. I will say this. That match was supposed to be my who booked this shit, just because I was expecting more interference, more shenanigans, but it didn't happen. I like the fact that they included Angie and stuff.
It was cool. It was cool to see Angie. Most people don't, unless you watch back in the day. She's been around this whole time, obviously. It was cool to, I'm glad she didn't, she kind of got involved, but they didn't make it she had to go take a bump or something like that. Would have been a little too much for me. I will say this, if the roles were reversed and McAfee had to have a street fight with Adam Cole, it wouldn't have been as good. Because I don't know that McAfee would have been ready to get hit with kendo sticks and go through tables. And I'm sure he could have gone through a table just fine. But I do think Dominic may have had a better street street fight performance than Pat would have. So I'll give him that. But obviously, straight up match, no comparison. And I think eventually we will see Dominic in a straight up match, and maybe him versus Murphy. I think Murphy he's more than talented enough to give him a straight up match and kind of lead him through it. So he showed me enough that I'm excited to see him in a straight up, wrestling match. And that's all you can really ask for.
Yep, I'm right there with you, brother.
Yeah. So moving on the rest of the SummerSlam matches, we'll go down the big things of was it Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, WWE Championship. Drew wins with a backslide, which I absolutely loved. I love when not every big match ends with a finisher, and they went so far in this direction. There was so much talk of, what are you going to do when I hit you with an RKO? What are you going to do when I hit you with a Claymore? Neither guy hit their finisher once in the whole match, which I loved. I think this match was great. Orton has always been, not always, but for the past probably decade, been the measuring stick of when they bring a new champion in, they kind of got to run him through Orton to see if he's worth sticking around. The same way when they debut people, they usually give him to Ziggler. If Ziggler can't have a good match with you, good luck making it. And then with Orton, if you can't have a good big fight feel with Randy Orton, then good luck moving forward. But this was great. Again, love the ending. I don't know where Drew goes from here, but I do know that for it was a great SummerSlam moment for him in his first championship reign.
Oh yeah, I like the match. It was a good match. I like the backslide too, and I like the fact that they was just beating each other's asses, and no one was able to get a finisher in, and the backslide. I haven't seen a backslide in some time.
Yeah,
a clean backslide at that, because when you do backslide, the heels usually are got their feet on the ropes.
Yep.
But that didn't happen in this match, so I appreciate it.
So we got a backslide, we got a white Russian leg sweep. We're just bringing back someone's playing some old wrestling games. Like, I could do that. No one's done that in a few months. But no, I did like it. I appreciate when matches can end, I dare to say realistically, but like when you watch the UFC, not everything ends in a knockout. Like when you get a submission on a guy, let's say, like if someone just gets his back and chokes him out, like that's like the guy gets up and like he's never mad. He's like, you got my throat. What can I do? Like when you hit a certain point, you maybe outsmarted the guy, but you didn't have to. Like Orton didn't have to get Claymored and had to look up at the lights to lose this match. It was a much better. It really protects Orton. Not that I think I said last week, win or lose, he can go back to punting people in the head next week on Raw anyway. So he didn't necessarily need the belt. So that was a good way around it. And then the other end of the spectrum is the Universal Championship match. We had Braun Strowman and The Fiend. Big heavy hitter match, similar to Cross and Lee, with a little more pyrotechnics and spookiness, I guess. But the ending was a little weird. Braun, ripped up the ring, exposing the wood, and Bray does a Sister Abigail that looks kind of sloppy, and he picks him up to do another one that ends up just as sloppy, and he just kind of pins him. Like, the match was good. The ending left a little to be desired for me. I think they were too much on the, like, oh, look at the wood, it's dangerous. Like, they were kind of planning on that looking better, I think. But Fiend winning the title, before we get to what happens next, I'm happy that the whole thing with Goldberg is now in the past, and he is Universal Champ again. So let's start there.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy that the Fiend won. Am I happy what happens next? I'm ecstatic because I love the look from the guy that we're talking about that comes in. The finish, yeah, you're right. The finish, I like the fact that it took Bray 3 Sister Abigails to finish him off. I do like that fact. I like the fact that they went into gorilla position. I laughed my ass off when I saw that no one was in there.
Yeah.
So no one's working in the gorilla position. Okay.
Nope.
Okay, cool. The shredding of the ring, I could have done without that. Yeah. But still, it was a good match. Still, overall, it was a good psychology to it.
The thing about the ring getting torn up that maybe gets me is Ciampa and Gargano did it so well, like, a year and a half ago, that it's so hard to – it'll always get compared to that, you know? So he kind of tore it in a weird place, and the foam and shit was still trying to, like, fall back. So, like, he should have went for a corner. Like, Ciampa could have told him, like, hey, man, this is how you do this, right? But I'm glad that he won, and I'm more worried about how long he's going to have it now because, as we said, shortly after, I don't know that he even touched the belt. I don't know that he even stood up. He gets speared by a returning Roman Reigns. New T-shirt, new teeth. A lot of people made a big deal that he got some dental work done. I don't know that I would have noticed. Like, I never looked at bro's teeth like that. You know, like, I mean, he's looking good. Don't get me wrong, but he's back. Some people are saying this is. I mean, he beat up both guys equally. Some people are like, "Oh, Roman's back and he's finally a heel." I don't know that part's true. He was not. Was he on Raw? I only watched bits of Raw. Did he show up or anything?
He's going to show up on SmackDown.
Oh, SmackDown, right? Of course. Yeah. So, however that is going to go, I'm interested to see. But with him being back, I don't know. What's your opinion of it?
I'm happy. I'm happy that Roman's back. SmackDown definitely needs it.
Yes.
SmackDown needs it. I like the fact that he's a tweener. You don't know if he's gonna be a heel, if he's gonna be a face. What I took out of that whole thing that they was going through was Braun would never been in that position if Roman Reigns didn't take his time off.
Yes.
You know,
he's got a legitimate gripe to do what he did. Yeah, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah. So I'm 100% cool with that.
So SummerSlam for the whole event, I was 7-1 for my picks. So overall, I'm 11-3 on the whole show. I'm pretty sure I won our first little prediction battle here. The one match I got wrong on SummerSlam, which technically is on the pre-show, it threw me off that this was on the pre-show, but MVP couldn't get it done. And I like Apollo. I just didn't see that coming. So technically, I was 7-0 on the main card, and I was 0-1 on the pre-show. So this close to undefeated record. You were 5-3. What were the three that you?
The three losses I had was the Drew McIntyre Randy Orton match, the Braun versus Bray, and there was one more. Damn it! What was that one? I'm having a blank.
Did you pick I picked Street Profits to retain. Did you pick the other guys?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yep. Because I thought that would be the pre-show match, and it wasn't, and I already knew I was thrown off at that point. So yeah, that was it. Yeah. Overall, I mean, we got winning records, both of us. So that's let's see, you'd be 8-6. I was 11-3. So the first pay-per-view prediction goes to me. Luckily, we don't have to wait very long for the next one because there's already a pay-per-view on Sunday, Payback, which we're actually not going to do the predictions now because as I stare at Wikipedia, there's only 4 matches on the show. I'm sure they're going to throw a bunch on SmackDown. So what we're going to do is just tweet them out before the show starts. That'll be the rule. You got to get them in before the show starts. And we'll see who comes out on top next week for those. So as we close out the show here, we mentioned Keith Lee's debut. We love the fact that he's there. We don't love how they did it, which will lead us to our top 3 for this week. Your top 3 debuts. You can do WCW, NW, other companies, but I'll let you go ahead and start. What are your top 3 debuts in wrestling?
Top 3 debuts in wrestling. Number 1, you have The Undertaker.
One or 3? Are you starting at 3 or 1?
3. I'm sorry.
3. Cool.
3.
All right.
3. It was The Undertaker. The Undertaker. Everyone was like, "Who the hell is this coming out with
Paul Bearer?
With Ted DiBiase?" Oh, yeah. No, it was Ted DiBiase when he first.
Yep.
I believe it's Ted DiBiase that walked him down the ring. So like, and then now look at his career now. Like he was about to be the guy in the
turkey egg. Yeah, I was just about to say he was this close to being the goddamn gobbledygook. So,
number 2 got to be Kane during the Hell in a Cell match. Kane came out from under the ring, chokeslammed the Undertaker. Everyone's like, "Who the hell is this?" And then we found out it's the Undertaker's brother.
That's and not only is it a great debut, but like to this day, people love saying Vince's line where that's gotta be Kane. Like, for whatever reason, that is stuck in history. That might be Vince McMahon's most said line, other than what a maneuver, because he said it in every match because he didn't know the name of moves. But like, from a one moment in time, that might be the most well-known Vince McMahon commentary line ever. That's gotta be Kane. So yeah, great number 2 for sure. I should have thought of Kane. I did not, but I'm glad because you got it. You got me covered.
All right. So number 1, we're going to go back to 2003. SmackDown. 2003. SmackDown. Kurt Angle calls out someone to come challenge him to go against him, and then the one, the only, the man, the legend himself, John Cena, comes out in his little short
shorts.
tights.
Yep.
Yeah, with his hair slicked back, and I'm John Cena. And that was the whole ruthless aggression era, and I loved it. And I look at John Cena now, 16-time champion. Great. And then honorable mentions, I had 2. One of them was oh man, brain fart again. I like Nexus when Nexus came in.
Okay.
Would you count that as a debut?
I do, because they're on my list. So yes, I count that. That's a debut. That is a debut.
It's a debut. And you take out Ryback and Cena and tear up the whole Raw.
Punk and Gallows and choking dudes with time. I mean, I'll mention it more here, but yeah, you got next. Did you have another?
I do have one more. I just can't remember. Oh, Shinsuke when he came into SmackDown.
Okay, yeah.
When Shinsuke, and just because I didn't really know of Shinsuke really when he was in NXT, but I did know his theme song. But so when the guy came out with his little violin, Shinsuke didn't even have to fight nothing. All he had to do was just do his entrance, and that was it. And I was just like, oh, there you go. That was perfect.
That was the thing. Even him in NXT, like him debuting there, he came out and Sami Zayn's in the ring, and he's just like, I want to fight, in his broken English, I want to fight you. And he just pointed at Sami Zayn, and the crowd went nuts. All he had to do was point. And then now he's at a point where he's just another dude on the roster. And I hate, like, there's so many guys that you could make feel special if you just use them a little less. Like, instead, even if he worked every other week, it would make a lot of guys feel that much more special, I think. And he's one of them. So I'm going to flip my honorable mention. I'll just mention now my honorable mention. It will now be Nexus, because as you already brought him up. But that was one of the times. So I'm flipping back and forth between Raw and Monday Night Football. Maybe the Eagles were playing. Maybe it's just a good game. I don't remember. But I remember seeing the Nexus come out. And the part that always got me was when you see Barrett, you see, I think, Gabriel, and then Cena turns to the hard cam side, and you see Tarver there with his, we have plenty of them now, but he has got the thing covering his face.
Yeah.
The moment it clicked, you're like, oh, they're all going to come. And then they all get in the ring. They're all beating the shit out of everybody. And I'm like, cool. And I assume Raw's going off the air with just that. I'm like, oh, cool. Great show. That's back when Raw was kind of up and down. I'm like, awesome. I turn back to Monday Night Football. Couple plays, goes to, timeout or commercial. And I flip back, and that's when the ring's torn apart. And I'm like, whoa, they took this even farther than, I thought it was going to be someone from, good story, WWE, tip of the cap, to, holy shit. So, yeah, I NXT in general, I love, and it's funny we bring it up now because Wade Barrett, Stu Bennett, whatever you call him, was actually on commentary for NXT tonight. Supposedly it's a one-off. I don't know why they'd bother, because Renee Young, zooms in. It could have just been her and was it Todd Phillips or whoever the other guy is now. They must have –
Joseph.
Yeah, so they must have something in mind. I think it's a little odd to just bring him for the one-time thing, but who knows? But it was good to see him. I do like Wade Barrett a lot. I think he does the commentary for NWA when they do television too, as Stu Bennett, his indie name. But yeah, overall, Nexus definitely got to be my honorable mention. Number 3, I had this honorable mention. I moved it up. Taz's debut in the WWF at the 2000 Royal Rumble in the Garden. To face Kurt Angle in yet another open challenge. There's a lot of open challenges in these debuts. It makes sense. But people have said that is still one of the loudest pops. And you think, as big as the Garden is in reputation, it's not the biggest arena in comparison to other places they go. So for that place to be that loud for Taz and Taz has said, I heard that pop and I knew I was doomed because they didn't make, WWE doesn't like pushing guys from other companies. But that moment, the whole thing, like I've always loved Taz from ECW. He was in my top 3 wrestlers in our first episode. But for him to come out and to get that reception and to just really destroy Kurt Angle, I love that match too. It's only like 5 minutes, but it's done so well. But yeah, when I think of debuts, I do have to think of Taz at the Garden because it's something that still gets talked about to this day. Number 2, I kind of deep dived for this one because it was something you never thought you'd see. I'm going to say it's the 2015 Survivor Series when Sting shows up because you had no reason.
Okay.
Like there was no lead into that. There was no match that he was going to be in. He literally showed up like 17 minutes into a 25-minute match. And it just, it was crazy. And it's something he didn't have to do anything. I don't know that he did. I think he just pointed his bat at somebody. I don't even remember. But just seeing him there, it was a surreal moment. It's one of those times where you're just like, wow, I cannot believe this happened in real life and not just like on a video game or something.
Yeah.
So didn't amount to as much as we would have wanted, the whole Sting and WWE thing. But him showing up there to kind of forge the authority and Ziggler coming back from 3-on-1 or 2-on-1 to win that thing. It really felt like things were changing. Turns out they didn't. But for that we had that one night. We had that one night to be happy about. Number 1, I'm incredibly biased about because I was there, but I think it still holds up. AJ Styles debuting in the 2016 Royal Rumble at the Amway Center at pick number 3, I believe it was. To me, it was the perfect storm. Like there was talks of, people weren't going to know who AJ Styles was. I was like, 1, it's AJ fucking Styles. Get that right. And 2, it's in Orlando. That's where TNA was his entire prime of his career. If any group of people is going to know who AJ Styles is, it's the people in Orlando.
Yeah.
So for him to show up, and it helped me that I was there live. I didn't get the weird cut that everyone else saw where AJ walks out, the crowd goes crazy, but you're still looking at Roman Reigns' face on camera. So I got to witness it, again, being there. I'm in the cheap seats, but I'm still there. So definitely AJ Styles, number 1. Because much like the Sting thing, something you never thought you'd see, but on a whole nother level, because here's a guy that's still in the prime of his career. You know that now that he's here. I mean, AJ's still doing great now. Just lost the IC title to Jeff Hardy, 5-time champ now. But yeah, he's still doing great things. And I've heard that whatever contract he's signed now is probably his last one in WWE. So he's going to really, really make it count. But AJ, the ultimate, I never thought I'd see this. And if I did, it would be much later in his career. No, the twilight of his career, the last 4, 5, 6 years of his prime are spent in WWE. And I think that's plenty. So yeah, AJ Styles, number 1 for me, for sure.
That's a good pick. I had him in my honorable mentions, but it was just like, okay, do I want him to do Nexus was more impactful, even though AJ Styles is AJ Styles, you know what I'm saying?
The moment of the debut, I could totally see Nexus, because it being in a Royal Rumble, it's funny though, him debuting, and of course he didn't win it or anything, but to go back to Taz, he's told this story about he asked Vince, hey, so am I also going to be in the Royal Rumble? Because, I'll be there and everything. And Vince said, well, pal, if I put you in there, you'd have to win. And at the time, he's like, I'm in the Garden. I guess people would be pissed if I lost. But AJ, it's proof that he could have maybe been in it, but it maybe would have softened his impact because the last thing you would have seen is him getting eliminated. But he says years later, he's like, I think he just didn't want me in it. And that was his excuse. But I thought that was funny. He's like, no, pal, if you were in it, you'd have to win. And he's like, yeah, that's true. Stroking his ego probably a little bit. But I do like how we got out of that. That, I think, is going to wrap up today's show. I want to thank you guys for listening. Hope you enjoyed the SummerSlam Takeover weekend. We got AEW tomorrow. We'll probably catch up on some things moving in. We'll have Payback. Again, there's only 4 matches there, so we'll probably open the show with just some Payback, our picks, and how that show goes down. A little interesting, again, 2 pay-per-views in 2 weeks, but hopefully it's still a decent enough show. I'm sure we'll watch it at some point. As always, use hashtag WrestleReportPod. I got some good feedback this week, too. Obviously, the poll. Appreciate you guys voting on the polls. It's always nice to kind of get people's opinions on things. I'm not sure what it'll be this week, but I'm sure we'll find something good. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm Phil. That's Don. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.